Hi everyone, today we're going to start looking at input-output tables and how we identify independent and dependent variables. So here you can see we're working on lesson 31. This video is going to be quite extensive because it's going to talk all the way through each of the lessons in lesson 31. So it will allow you to pause, rewind, and go back and review. So please take advantage of that as you are looking at how to identify the dependent and independent variables. So here we go. What type of variable is it? I want you to remember the acronym dry mix. Dry mix is a way that many students learn how to identify between what is a dependent variable and what is an independent variable. And we are going to start by looking at the dry. The dry part talks about the dependent variable. The D stands for dependent. The result R, well, that's after you've made a change, some type of change. You're going to change the left-hand side of the equation, but now what does that equal? So the result or what it equals. And when we go to graph these things, that's actually going to be on the y-axis. So here we have D, R, Y for dry. Some key terms to identify: total, all. Sorry about that, some technical glitches. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight in a different color what the questions are asking. First, and I've got it in green here, it's asking me to find the independent and the dependent variable. Then it asks me to create a table to show the minutes he read in the first 7 minutes. Now in order to do that, I am going to let the left side equal my, won't be X, it will be D. It'll be D. And on the right-hand side, it'll be T. So remember, D represents the number of days that he read. T equals the total number of minutes that he read. So he read 30 minutes each day, and they want to know the first 7 minutes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Next, what we want to do is we want to look at the equation, and we're going to write that thing down up here. T equals 30D. Now, if you're like my brain, I like to have it switched around, so I'm going to switch it around to 30D equals T. Now all I need to do is start substituting each of these values in for D, and that's going to give me a value for T. So here we go. First, we have 30. So 30 times 1 equals, well, that's going to equal T. Well, what does T equal here? 30 times 1 is 30. So I'm going to put that in my chart. Next, 30 times 2 equals T. So here, when D is 2, T is 60. And I'm going to keep going down through until I have all of the days. I know 30 times 3 is 90. 30 times 4 is 120. 30 times 5 is 150. And I'm looking at the pattern. They're skipping by 30s. I'm going right here on the T value, so I'm pretty sure 30 times 6 is 180, and 30 times 7 is 210. Now, we've created our table, but what we need to do is identify our independent and dependent variables. The D values are our X values. The T values are our Y values. Because we've manipulated something with X, we actually multiplied it by 30. So our independent variable is D, and D represents the number of days. And the dependent variable was the time, where T, right there it is, represents the total minutes read. So D and T. Here we go with example number 2. Kyra designs websites. She can create 3 different websites each week. I know that's an important word. Kyra wants to create an equation that will give her the total number of websites she can design in a given number of weeks that she works. So here we go. Determine the independent and dependent variables. I'm going to highlight those. Determine the independent and dependent variables. Next, it tells me create a table to show the number of websites she can design in 5 weeks. Let me put that in a different color here. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. We use a different color for the highlighter. Let's use yellow. That was the second thing. Create the table for the first 5 weeks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then finally, the third thing that it wants me to find is to write an equation that represents the number of websites she can design when given any number of weeks. So now that I know a little bit about this stuff, I'm going to take out my handy dandy pen. Here we go. It says that she creates 3 websites in a particular week. So that tells me that we are doing 3 times X. So a certain number of X. So we're going to let X equal our weeks. And we're going to let Y, so X equals weeks. And we're going to let our Y value, let's see, she wants to create an equation for the total number. So here's total. So Y equals total websites. Now I can go back to my resource that's a couple of slides back, and it tells me, see, that's X, that's Y. When I was looking at my Y value, my dry mix, DRY, that was my dependent variable. So this is the total number of websites. So the total number of websites, well, that all depends on X, which is how many weeks, the number of weeks. And I know that if I have 3 websites for each week or per week, that's going to give me my total. And what it wants me to do is look at weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now that I have these weeks numbers, all I need to do is plug them right in here. And this is where I'm going to show all my work. Let's go ahead and change the color here. We're going to do a red. This way it kind of differentiates that I'm showing my work. So I'm going to start right here with the number 1. I'm going to put it in for X. So I have 3 times 1. That equals Y. Well, what is 3 times 1? We know 3 times 1 is 3. So in week number 1, she had a total of 3 websites. Now let's look at the 2. Plug it right in for X. So here we have 3 times 2. That equals Y. Well, what is 3 times 2? 3 times 2 is 6. Next, I have 3 times 3, so 3 videos per week for 3 weeks. So that gives me a total of 9 websites. The next step is 3 times 4 weeks, so 3 videos in 4 weeks. That's a total of 12 videos, or no, I'm sorry, 12 websites. And finally, 3 for a total of 5 weeks. That gives me 15. So let's see if we've answered all the questions. It says determine the independent and dependent variable. Check, I did that. I'm going to put a check mark right there. Create a table that shows that, yep, I did that. And finally, write the equation. Notice I didn't do these in order, but if you notice, I've got all 3. Here we go with example number 3. You're going to notice that things are going to get a little more challenging as we go along. As long as you review the videos and review your resources, you'll be fine. Here we go with example 3. Priya streams movies through a company that charges her $5 for a monthly fee, or $5 for every month, plus $1.50 per movie. Determine the independent and dependent variables. Hold on, here we go again. Determine. Whoa, let's do a highlighter instead of a pen. How's that sound? Let's determine the independent and dependent variables. Then we're going to write an equation to model the situation. Next, we are going to create a table to show the total cost per month for 4 through 10 movies per month. So I know, based on what we've talked about before, that per, whenever I see per, that's this little guy right here. Hold on, let me get back to the pen. Hold on, there we go. This little guy right here. Let's change it to red because we don't really like that color. I'm sorry. Let's look at red, Mr. Stevens. There we go. So here, I know because we have per, that is something that is changing. And then I've got the $5 fee. So no matter how many movies I get, I still have to pay the $5. So when it comes to the equation, it doesn't matter because we want this to equal y. It doesn't matter how many movies, I still have to pay $5. Even if I don't rent anything, it's still $5. And then next, I know that it's going to be $1.50 for every video that I rent. So here, this is the number of movies. That is my x value, my independent variable. Oops, sorry. So my independent variable is my number of movies, because that's the guy that changes. I could have 2 movies, 3 movies, 4 movies, 0 movies, 100 movies in that particular month. And then what that does is shows me the total cost for each month. And that's my y value, my total cost. And that is my dependent variable. Notice, independent variables go here. Dependent variables go down there. Kind of like your ID. Here we go. It says for weeks 4 through 10. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, because now what we need to do is that we need to take our x value, substitute it into our equation to get our y value. Pause the video to see what you can do with each of these values.